ain't got no games.
This was my physique over here after several years of training. Now, if I wasn't making these mistakes, I probably would have looked something like this guy over here. So back when I was in high school, and even the early part of college, I was making so many mistakes. I would believe everything that I read in bodybuilding magazines. Sadly, I think I cost myself at least 15 to 20 pounds of pure muscle and a really shredded and aesthetic physique because of all these mistakes. So I don't want you at home to make these same mistakes. So in today's video, we're gonna get into my top 9 mistakes that I wish I knew before I started lifting.
You ain't got no games. You ain't lift no weights.
Back when I was in high school, I remember coming across ESPN, the magazine, and they had this article about this football player named David Boston. Now, David Boston was known for having one of the craziest training regimens in the offseason out of any NFL player. So he was like a workout freak, and he was a genetic freak as well. And he had this crazy physique where he was like 6'3", 230 pounds. He had like 21-inch biceps, and the guy looked like an absolute animal. So I got thinking, you know what? I was like 16, 17 years old. I was thinking to myself, I want to look exactly like David Boston. The worst mistake that I see is trying to look exactly like somebody when you have completely different genetics. Now, I'm gonna break down genetics in bodybuilding in a completely separate video, but understand this. You have your specific muscle insertions, you have your height, you have your bone density. You can't change how long your arms are. Kevin Durant, the basketball player, is never gonna have 20-inch arms. He could even take steroids, he could bodybuild for 10 years, but the fact that Kevin Durant has such long arms, that's just his genetic structure. Now, he was genetically gifted for basketball, not necessarily bodybuilding. So you have to understand that everybody has their unique genetic structure between how your muscles insert, even your bones. If you're trying to get, like, say for instance, you see this guy like an NPC physique competitor like Jeremy Buendia, and you see he has this crazy small waist. He's kind of a shorter guy. He has a smaller bone structure. He has this like crazy 27-inch waist. Well, guess what? You can't change how wide your hip bones are right here. So there's only so much that you can do with your genetics, and guess what? If you maximize your genetic potential with aesthetic bodybuilding, you're still gonna look incredible, but you can't look exactly like somebody. Everyone has a different metabolism, muscle insertions, bone density, and all that. So trying to aspire to look exactly like someone is a really bad mistake.
That is the way he lived. That is what he leaves us.
Back when I was 18 years old, I remember one Sunday night, I went into Barnes & Noble's and I came across these bodybuilding magazines, and I was really into getting bigger arms and a bigger chest at that time. So I see this interview and I see this monster on the cover, and it was Kai Greene. And I see Kai Greene's interview in the magazine, and he's talking about his chest regimen and his arm regimen. And it seems so simple. He's like, you know what? There's no need to do more than 10 or 15 sets. You know, he's like, I do the barbell curl, I do these like basic curls for arms, and then I do the chest and blah, blah, blah. I follow like 6 to 10 rep range, I do 5 sets. And he's like, look, that's all you need. So being young and dumb, I figured to myself, guess what? I should probably just start training exactly like Kai Greene, and I'm gonna look like Kai Greene. So the second big mistake is taking advice from bodybuilding magazines that only wanna sell you supplements and give you terrible training advice, and guys that I will say are on, let's just call it vitamin S. Because guess what? When you're on vitamin S, you guys are gonna have a different genetic structure. You're basically manipulating your genetics. So if you're taking advice from bodybuilding magazines and IFBB pro bodybuilders on steroids, guess what? Those same rules do not apply to them as it applies to you. So I remember reading, like if you go on simplyshredded.com or you go on bodybuilding.com, you'll see these interviews with guys who have world-class physiques. And a lot of the times it's really simple. They're like, guess what? I do barbell curls, I have my chest day, my back day, and their training regimen seems so simple. And guess what? I followed a really simple training regimen for years, and I looked nothing like that after a couple of years of training. Back when I started to really try to build muscle mass, I would go to McDonald's, I would pack in those McNuggets every single day. And then when I got home, sometimes I would have macaroni and cheese. Once in a while, I would slice some hot dogs in it. And other times, I would go to a Thai restaurant, have pad Thai. And as you can see, my diet was not the best. Now, what I was doing wrong wasn't necessarily the food that I was eating, although it wasn't the best. It was when I was actually counting my calories, when I learned how important this was, I realized I was not eating close to enough carbohydrates and quality protein to build muscle mass. Now, the biggest mistake that I see, because so many guys come to me and they're like, yo, I can't build muscle, I've tried everything. I had this 18-year-old kid literally hit me up on Instagram yesterday, and he was like, hey, I'm about to go to college. What's the best steroid that I can take? And it looked like he barely lifted a weight in his entire life. And I asked him, I'm like, yo, like, first off, no steroid, and second of all, like, what are your macros, what's your training like? And like, his diet was complete shit. The thing is, when you know how to train, you understand how to break down that muscle tissue, the only thing you gotta do and concern yourself with is eating enough quality calories. When you are trying to build muscle mass, do not underestimate the amount of calories that you are going to need to eat, especially if you're skinny, you're a natural hard gainer like myself, because for me personally right now, I need to eat at least 3,500 to 3,800 calories every single day with my activity level to be in a surplus. So I will link down in the description below my video on how to lean bulk so you guys can make sure you eat enough calories. Now we're getting into my early college years. I would go to the gym with my friend pretty much every single day, and we had this kind of like group of lifting buddies, and we would go in the gym, and every single workout we'd try to see how much we could bench press, we'd see how much we could shoulder press. It was pretty much a competition of how much weight we could lift with really bad form. So what you have to understand is lifting as heavy as possible every single workout, you're lifting like a power lifter. Now, if your goal is to build muscle mass and look a very specific way, which 99 out of 100 people watching this video, that is your #1 goal. You have to channel mind-muscle connection. You have to start lifting and training like a bodybuilder. First couple times I went in the gym when I was, say, 17, 18 years old, and I started really getting into squats and deadlifts. It was very mentally defeating because I was in the gym and I was struggling to squat like 135 pounds or barely deadlift 150 pounds, and then there'd be some dude next to me that would always be squatting like 3 or 4 plates. Little did I know, the two exercises that you absolutely get the strongest on the fastest is a squat and the deadlift. Now, I know most young guys, they start off and they attempt to do squats, they attempt to do deadlifts for a couple workouts, and they're really weak and they just kind of give up on it altogether, and they're like, oh, fuck leg day, I'm just never gonna train legs. Now, if I would have just, say, stuck with it from like 18, from the age of like 18 to 21, I barely squatted or did deadlifts. But if I would have stuck with it and prioritized my glute, my hamstring, and my quad training twice per week, I almost guarantee you that I would have gone from like 135 pounds on the squat probably to 350 or 400 pounds on the squat and the deadlift as well. So another thing too, if you're trying to get shredded, you have the most potential to build muscle mass in your legs. So your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads. Those are 3 of the largest muscle groups in your body. The more muscle mass you can put onto your lower body, the faster that resting metabolism becomes, and the faster your metabolism and fat loss becomes, and then when you're trying to get shredded in the spring and summertime, you're gonna have a much easier time. So make sure you start prioritizing your glute, hamstring, and quad training at least twice per week. You can do stomach crunches until you are blue in the face, but if you have a layer of fat covering your abdominals, it does you absolutely no good. In fact, you can do compound exercises, you can be in a slight caloric deficit, and you can do things like HIIT cardio and fasted cardio, and you're gonna have way more ripped abs than somebody who's not doing any of those things and doing 1,000 stomach crunches every single day. Stomach crunches do not equal abdominals. It doesn't make sense, guys. So if you guys want ripped abs, do weighted abdominal work, actually put some resistance on your abs, and eat in a slight caloric deficit. In fact, I'm just gonna link in the cards over here and at the end of the video all of the top shredding videos that I've ever done on this channel, and you guys will have a PhD in how to get those six-pack abs. But one of the biggest fitness myths of all time, and you continue to see it with things like the ab belt and different stomach crunch devices, stomach crunches do not equal six-pack abs. 9 out of 10 questions that I right now get on Instagram DM, it all revolves around, I'm trying to look this way, I'm trying to get abs, I'm trying to build muscle mass, nothing is working, I am just genetically cursed. Well, guess what? I follow up, I'll be like, hey man, what's your training regimen right now, and what are your macros? And guess what? None of them know their macros. Now, nutrition is literally gonna be 70 to 80% of how you look and how fast you can reach your goals with both fat loss and muscle building. You absolutely have gotta dial in your macros, and having high quality macros is going to manipulate the growth factors in your bloodstream. So the healthier that you eat, the more high quality protein, the more complex carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables and really healthy fats that you eat, obviously, the more testosterone and human growth hormone and optimal anabolic hormones that your body is going to produce. So I cannot stress it enough. What you do in the gym, yes, it is very important, but what you do aside from the gym with your nutrition, it is going to make or break your results. So study it, continue to watch videos on this channel, continue to learn about it. Do some testing yourself, follow a specific diet, track your weight for a week, and figure out if it's working for you. So I'm gonna link to my best nutrition videos in the description below. Let's get to the next mistake. Ever heard that high repetitions and light weight equal toning, and that heavy weight and low repetitions equal muscle building? Guess what? This is complete bullshit. There is no such thing as toning. You're either building muscle mass or you're not building muscle mass. And guess what? It was scientifically proven that both high repetitions and low repetitions can build muscle mass. In fact, I recently did a video, how many reps to build muscle mass, and I broke down different research studies, and it showed that 30% of your 1 rep max until failure is very optimal for building muscle mass, and that in the 6 to 8 repetition range until failure is also great for building muscle mass. So they can both build muscle mass. In fact, I highly recommend that you include both of them into your training regimen for optimal results. So I remember going in the gym and I would just throw around weight. I wasn't tracking my lifts. There was no rhyme or reason for really anything that I was doing. And I go to the gym now and I see literally everybody doing the same ugly cycle. It's like they're not tracking their lifts. They really have no idea if they're, say, squatting or bench pressing what they did, say, the previous week. And this creates a huge problem because guess what? If you're not tracking your lifts, you cannot dial in progressive overload. Progressive overload is the single biggest proven secret to building muscle mass. Getting 5 pounds heavier every single week on all of your compound lifts is going to help you build muscle mass, and you cannot get stronger if you don't even know what number to hit with all of your compound lifts. So track your lifts, and most importantly, dial in the mind-muscle connection when you're doing the bodybuilding stuff. All right, guys, those were my 9 biggest mistakes that I wish I personally knew before I started lifting weights. I know they're gonna help you a ton at home. And if this is your first time on the channel, first of all, welcome to the channel. Second of all, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, as I'm gonna try to upload anywhere between, I don't know, 4 to 7 times a week until Christmas time, and then I'll kind of reevaluate things and go from there. So we got a ton of content coming your way on the channel over the next couple months. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Make sure you subscribe, join the Superhuman family. We got videos 5 times per week helping you look sexy and get the body of your dreams. Wait, if you haven't seen my last 2 videos, make sure you check them out right here. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below, and I will see you on my next video tomorrow.